Welcome to Behind the Teams, How the Most Innovative Companies Work, a custom podcast in partnership with Atlassian. I'm your host, David Cohen. In this episode, I'll be chatting with Susannah Shattuck, the head of product at Credo AI, to learn more about how collaboration is critical to their work. Susannah, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So for people who don't know, what is Credo AI? What is your mission? And what services do you provide to your customers?
So we are on a mission to ensure that AI is built and used in service of humanity. And the way that we do that is that we build and sell AI governance software, tools to help organizations manage risk and compliance and ensure that the AI systems that they're using across the entire organization, whether that's a chatbot that they're building to address customer service questions or a tool that they're using on their marketing team to generate blog posts, we build software that ensures that every single one of those systems is effectively governed. And so it's obviously a really big problem space, a really big challenge to solve, but that's where we're focused. So we sell software. We also provide organizations with consultative services to help them get started on AI governance and understand what that even means, which includes training, change management support, and organizational and process design.
This must be a constantly evolving world for you, where the things that you're thinking about and responsible for are changing, I would imagine, almost on a daily basis. So as head of product, what are you thinking about? How are you staying ahead of things and ensuring that what you're saying and doing for your clients is the right thing and the thing they really need to be focused on?
It's a great question. The AI landscape certainly feels these days like it's moving at the speed of light. You know, one of the things that I acknowledge is that I think it's almost impossible for any one individual to truly be keeping up with everything that's happening in this space. And so I know this is a podcast all about collaboration, but one of the really critical things that we do at Credo AI is that we have teams that are focused on different pieces of the puzzle and being the experts, up to date by the minute kind of experts in fields. So we have a dedicated policy team, a team of policy experts who are responsible for monitoring the AI regulatory landscape, tracking changes that are happening across, the EU with the EU AI Act, or Asia Pacific with the work that's coming out of Singapore related to model governance. And they make that expertise available for all of our teams and work with me and my team to ensure that our product is up to date with what's happening in the policy space. We also have a dedicated team of technical AI experts who are responsible for staying up to date on the latest and greatest risks and risk mitigation techniques. So they are reading papers by the minute, research papers on the latest approaches to jailbreak large language models or the latest techniques to prevent misuse or abuse of AI systems by bad actors. And they're also working with me and my team to ensure that our product is up to date with these different components. I think if we expected any one person in the world to be a deep expert on all of these things at once, that person might explode. There's just too much. So that sort of cross-functional nature of our work is really apparent in the way that we work together.
Given how many teams you are, how big is Credo AI at this point? How much has this company grown from when it was founded? How big is it? And how widespread is this team?
So we've been growing a lot recently. I actually am having a hard time keeping track of the exact number of employees right now. I think we're somewhere between 55 and 60 at this exact moment in time. And probably by the time this podcast airs, we will have grown a little bit more. We've been growing really rapidly in the last year. When I first joined the company, I was, I think, technically employee number 5. So we started from sort of a very small startup roots, as many startups do. And it's been really an incredible ride to just see not only the growth of the team, the growth of the company, but the growth of the AI governance market. And I think that's really the underlying story behind our growth. When I first started at Credo AI back in 2021, 1 year after the company was founded, AI governance was really nascent. Very few organizations had dedicated teams or people, dedicated resources focused on AI governance. We were sort of a small group of passionate people who were advocating for AI governance in the market. And today, 2024, almost going into 2025, I think you talk to most C-level executives at Fortune 500 companies, and AI compliance, AI risk management, AI adoption are all top priorities. So that transformation of the market has really fueled our company's growth.
So within that size company, how much are people actually working together in person? How much are they separated? And then how do you collaborate amongst a distributed workforce?
We are a fully remote company. We were founded in 2020. We were founded on the cusp of the pandemic. And so in the beginning, being fully remote was not a choice. It was, forced upon us and every other company in the world. But after the pandemic subsided and people were coming back in person, we actually looked at each other and said, we've been able to hire some of the most incredible people in this space, in part because we are a fully remote team and we have a very distributed team. Our team of policy experts is distributed, as you might imagine, across different geographies. We have folks in Europe, we have folks in the US, teams in Latin America and in Asia, as well as, of course, the United States. And so it's really served us well to be able to attract the best talent by not forcing people to be in one particular geography. But you're absolutely right that it does totally change the way that you work together. So there are a couple things that I think we do really consciously as a company because we are remote first. One of those things is that we are a very documentation-driven culture. Everything that we are deciding, that we are discussing, is documented. And that is both useful for the people who are in those conversations, in those meetings, but it's also really critical for people who maybe aren't part of a particular meeting where a decision was made. And they, hours later, when they are starting to work in their time zone, need to be able to understand what decisions were made so that they can get on with their work. So we use the Atlassian suite very heavily. And I would say this organization is probably one of the most heavy Confluence using organizations that I've ever been a part of. There's a Confluence page for almost everything. And, of course, that's just a really useful tool for that asynchronous collaboration and then asynchronous sharing out of critical information so people can get the job done.
As a leader, how do you personally innovate, collaborate, work with teams? Because you're in a position where, as head of product, you need to be on top of everything. In that role, as a leader, how are you ensuring that everybody is on the same page, everyone is connected, and everybody is thinking with a common purpose?
This, I think, is my most important job, is making sure that we have full alignment across not just the product organization, but of course the broader company on exactly what it is that we're building, what we're providing to customers, the value proposition. So there are a couple things that I do regularly to ensure that level of alignment. One is that I am very open and transparent with all of my communications to the point that this is sort of generally true of leaders at Credo AI, but we try to do as much building in public as we can so that, again, anybody on the team, even people who aren't involved in a particular conversation, can come back and see what was decided. I also maintain documentation that's designed not just for the product team, but also for sales, marketing, and customer success that really clearly outlines our product priorities. So we use Jira really heavily for the actual product development process. But I always make sure that our backlog is not just in Jira, which is really the sort of nitty-gritty day-to-day use tool for the engineering team, but that documentation, that backlog is also available in Confluence, also available in slides and all the other formats that other teams are sort of more comfortable with and accustomed to. And then we have a biweekly all hands meeting. And at every single all hands meeting, I or somebody from my team usually gets up to give a quick presentation on current product priorities. That's another really important high level touch point to get that alignment across the team. But when we're not all sitting in the same office, we can't just easily turn to one another and say, do you understand what we're working on?
Yeah. And one thing I can't help but wonder about, given that you work in AI, is there a connection between AI and human collaboration? Do you utilize AI in how you collaborate at Credo AI?
Absolutely. It's kind of ironic because we are, in some ways, on the more risk averse side when it comes to AI adoption because we are keenly aware of all of the risks, challenges, and compliance issues, legal issues. So we actually use our own product to govern our use of AI. But you can imagine a 55, 60 person team. We have to use AI to extend ourselves to get everything done. So some of the features that are part of the tools that we currently use that I particularly love, meeting summarization tools, tools that are analyzing transcripts or recordings of calls and not only translating that into, of course, the word for word transcript, but the best is when it generates a quick summary of the meeting. That's really helpful for understanding whether you need to click deeper and actually watch the recording or go back and talk to the people who are in that call. Our product team also uses generative AI to create a lot of our internal documentation. So we've created a GPT agent that basically has digested all of our internal product docs. And we use that now to be sort of the first pass at new docs that we need to create. And of course, going back to the risk averse point, there's always a lot of back and forth and editing of what the LLM came up with as a first draft. But it certainly increases the speed with which you can get out that really critical internal documentation.
When you look back on what Credo AI has accomplished so far, are there certain examples of things, ways that you've made history, done things you didn't expect, did things that nobody else had done before that you could really tie back to collaboration and say, this couldn't have happened by this individual or that individual. This is a team coming together and collaborating to make history?
I would say that we really coined the phrase AI governance and established this market. Again, when I joined Credo AI in 2021, the phrase that everybody was using was responsible AI or ethical AI. And nobody really knew what that meant. And so we really sat down, and I distinctly remember coming together as a very small team back then and sitting down and saying, okay, what do we actually mean when we say AI governance? What are the processes that are involved in that? What are the analogs that we can compare to? Can we compare this to cybersecurity? Can we compare this to privacy to help people understand? And actually, if you search on Google AI governance, one of the very first results that comes back is a blog post from Credo AI about what this phrase actually means. And so to see that phrase now being used not just by our customers, by Fortune 500 enterprises, but even by leaders, by regulators, by the organizers who are pushing for greater accountability and responsibility in the ecosystem. That's really cool. And to go back to my original point about how AI governance is incredibly cross-functional, that work, that meeting that we had to decide what do we mean when we say AI governance was a super cross-functional meeting. We had our policy experts, we had our technical experts, we had our marketing team, we had our customer success team, we had product in the room. So I really don't think that it's possible to have that kind of cross-functional conversation if you don't have effective not only tools, but also patterns of collaboration. When you're bringing together these teams that all speak different languages, that have different priorities, you need to have a really effective collaboration process, a process where people can share ideas and have them not only be heard, but understood by others. All of that has been absolutely critical to our sort of defining and creating this AI governance market.
You did mention at various points using Confluence, using Jira. I was wondering if you could give us some real examples of how using this software has led to collaboration, has led to results that you otherwise, without this software, would not have been able to accomplish.
I'll give you a really concrete example. There have been a couple times in Credo AI's history where we really were racing to get something out the door as quickly as possible because we believed that that was going to be sort of a step change for our business. And at the beginning of 2024, we were in that exact moment with our product development where we had some really clear insights that We had this really robust product for risk management, for compliance, but we were hearing some needs from customers that they actually needed a way to just collect information from their users, from people who were using AI in the organization. And we didn't have that kind of, we call it now, intake process built into our product. So we learned this, and we believed that this was hugely going to unlock product adoption and value for our customers if we were able to add this feature set. This is probably the fastest that I have ever shipped enterprise grade software in my career. Over the span of about 2 months, we basically completely rebuilt this component of our product with new features related to this intake process. And moving that quickly with a distributed team really is only possible if you have these very effective and seamless handoffs of information and decisions from one group of stakeholders to another. So design needs to seamlessly hand off their work to product to write the requirements doc. Product needs to seamlessly hand over the requirements to engineering for them to be able to go and build as efficiently and effectively as possible. And then engineering needs to seamlessly hand over to QA exactly what they built so that the testing and validation can happen as quickly as possible. All of those handoffs for us happen in Jira and in Confluence. Design does their work, they're probably working in Figma, but then they're going to hand off those Figma designs to product. Product writes a PRD in Confluence. That PRD needs to completely make sense and be legible to engineering. Engineering is then responsible for defining the specific acceptance criteria in the tickets that they're tracking in Jira. And then that acceptance criteria in the tickets becomes the test plan for QA. So if you don't have that sort of single-threaded consistency across all of that information, you're going to end up with roadblocks. Things are going to be slowed down. You're not going to be able to ship this massive net new product in about 2 months' time. That example that I shared was all made possible by the fact that we have this integrated documentation and ticketing system in Confluence and Jira.
That's amazing. I mean, as a company that is 100% remote and thinking about AI literally every second of every day, how do you see the workplace changing in the future? What excites you about what it can mean, even that phrase workplace, coming from a company that's 100% remote? How do you see workplaces changing, and how can you even plan for this evolution or think about this evolution and think ahead?
The thing that really excites me about the AI-powered future in particular is the idea that we will never have to do busy work again. And by that, I mean the little monotonous, repetitive tasks like data entry or pulling data from a dashboard into a slide, or even something like writing documentation. We can focus on the ideas. We can focus on the creativity, the things that are uniquely human skills that oftentimes are most aligned with sort of the things that we're passionate about. And all of the busy work, the stuff that gets away, can be handed off to AI agents or AI systems that are going to do that sort of last mile for us. That's something that I think we've started to see a little bit in some areas. And I think a great example is in some of the crazy AI-generated marketing content that we're seeing in the world, right? Humans are coming up with the ideas. Humans are coming up with the prompts for those systems. But then rather than spending hundreds of hours editing something themselves by hand, they can hand off that work to an AI system. And sure, there might need to be several back and forth iterations before you actually end up with something good, but it's going to be a lot faster. And again, we're allowing humans to focus on sort of the magical zone of genius that I think really humans are best at. So that's what really excites me. I think there are a lot of roadblocks for us to actually get to that beautiful future. And, that's one of the things that makes me so passionate about working on governance, is really ensuring that we're putting the right tools and safeguards in place to prevent the kind of AI failures that I think will push us away from AI adoption. I think we're still in this early stage of AI adoption that if something really big goes wrong, there are going to be a lot of people who get scared away. You can imagine in this future that companies might only be 3 or 4 people in this world where they're actually extending their ability to get things done because they don't have to do any of this busy work, because they have sort of a sea of employees for them that are AI agents. I think there's also a scenario where you can imagine that actually human to human in-person time becomes really important, because that's where you get to do this kind of idea sharing and have those creative discussions that are ultimately going to be the most important aspect of human work. I think we're still figuring out, as a fully remote company, how do we come together periodically to have really productive, creative time together to think through the big problems so that we can then go out and do the busy work, or work with AI to do the busy work, executing on those ideas.
Where do you see Credo AI fitting into this world that you just described? This world where AI becomes so important to companies, particularly small companies. Where is Credo AI? What is your goal to be within that world?
So we certainly aspire to be a powerfully AI-enabled business. And some of the ways that I said we're using AI internally, our initial explorations in that space, but there still is so much untapped potential, I think, for our own use of AI. I think the other really important role that we aspire to play, and we are playing right now for many of our customers, is that we want to enable that kind of AI adoption and AI value unlock by providing the guardrails that are really required, necessary to even consider adopting AI in the first place. And some of our customers, we work mostly with Fortune 500 companies. Some of them have told us that until they have a robust governance program in place, they're really not going to give anyone the green light to go and use AI in all of these amazing creative ways. So I do really strongly believe, and we have heard from the market, that governance is a critical component for being even able to realize the potential of AI in the way that I just described.
So finally, when you think about all that you've accomplished here, particularly as employee number 5, as you said, when you look at what Credo AI has accomplished, what is your sense of pride here? I mean, how do you feel about this? When you look at the team, what are your thoughts? How excited are you at what you've done and what you can do?
I am so proud and excited. And, I think I've said this to various people on my team, various people at Credo AI, but this truly has been one of the proudest accomplishments of my career, is building not only this incredible product that we've built, this incredible company that we've built, but the team and the culture. Those are also 2 really important aspects for me. And I think what's most exciting about all of this is that we're really just at the beginning. We are truly at the beginning of what we hope will be a very long journey. And we're seeing all of these signals that, again, the market is finally starting to care about something that many of us, myself included, have cared about for a very long time and believed in for a very long time. It feels like we just lit the ignition on a rocket ship and we're in the process of taking off. And so, as I was saying, the team is growing so quickly that I can't keep track of how many people we're at. It's hard for me to even imagine what Credo AI is going to be like a year from now, 2 years from now, because everything is moving so quickly and things are changing so quickly that I hope that if we're doing our jobs correctly, this is going to look like a very different company, a very different product, a very different market in even just 1 year with all of the progress that we're making. So yes, lots of pride at what we're doing, excitement about what's coming next. Certainly, no doubts about how big the problem is that we're trying to solve, but I have full belief that we can do it, especially when we have the right tools and processes for coming up with creative solutions in our back pocket.
Susannah Shattuck, thank you so much for being with us. This is really just a wonderful look at Credo AI and everything that you have accomplished and are accomplishing. That's all for this custom episode in partnership with Atlassian. Thanks for listening. This episode was produced by me, David Cohen, along with Avery Miles, editing by Nicholas Torres.